Welcome, everybody, to the FMBA Nation podcast. I'm here live in our Serve Pro studio in Rahway, and we're here to discuss the FMBA Educational Convention. Our educational convention is scheduled for February 3rd and 4th in Atlantic City at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, and we're really looking forward to it. This is the first year that I am involved in the sense of helping set everything up, and I'm really excited to bring you guys a really good training provided by the FMBA for our members. With me today in the podcast, we're going to be talking about the convention with three people in particular today. We have Rob Policht. Rob Policht is from Flow and Vent. He's also a lieutenant from Passaic Fire Department. Rob's going to be teaching some classes down at convention that I'll let him talk about in a minute. We have Ryan Dullea from Westfield Fire Department. Sorry, Ryan. He's also has his own consulting company called RCD Group Solutions. Works with me down in Monmouth County Fire Academy as well, and works with me in my business doing some instructing as well. So I appreciate him being here. He's going to be down at convention. And then last but certainly not least is Patrick Wirkus from the Elizabeth Fire Department, who serves as a battalion chief there, who also has his own business called Division Command Training. So he will be talking about utilizing division commanders. And again, guys, welcome. Thank you for being here. You guys excited about being at the FMBA convention? I mean, I think for all of you guys will be the first time teaching down there. If not, correct me if I'm wrong. Everyone's first time?
Yeah, absolutely.
First time.
Yeah, so I had the honor of teaching down there through the National Fallen Firefighters last year. My man Dave Wiklansky and I taught orienting leadership and leadership quotient through the NFFF. So it was a great time to be with our members and just give back. If you guys don't know about the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation, which I'm sure you guys do, it is a free advocacy. Advocates can provide free training to anyone on the topics of command, safety, but ultimately reducing LODD. So it was a great opportunity for myself and Will Klansky to teach to our members about reducing LODDs with respects to leadership and orienting leadership on the fire ground as well. So again, it's a really cool couple days of training. You're at the Hard Rock, so that always makes it better. But why don't we talk about what classes you guys are going to be teaching and what our members have to look forward to with respects to your classes. So Rob, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Yeah, I'll kick it off real quick, short and sweet. I know everybody's time's valuable. So I know Danny helped me kind of with the plethora of classes. We broke down into two that we felt would help out the majority of the group and all the union members involved. So one of the ones I come up with is like just short staff mitigation for companies and things like that. Again, it's real simple, short staff. So where's that coming from? Obviously in Passaic, we ride a little bit shorter, 3 across. Around here, we got other towns like Ridgewood and whatnot that run 2 on some rigs. And, with the background from the Volley House, it could be one guy showing up. But again, that class is just real simple. It's more of a tips and tricks. It's not really a how-to. It's just what we've done in the past, what I've done in the past in my travels throughout the state and the region on how to operate at smaller things, in all sets of things. So obviously my background also comes from some chief experience in the Volley House where you don't have any help, but all those experiences do help here because it comes down to making decisions, not just on the line as an engine guy, as a truck guy, but also as a boss, like who's coming to help when you have nobody, and thinking of
Rob,
things.
what I liked when we're discussing what classes you should be teaching, I really like this one because most of our locals are not.
Yeah, we're not heavy.
We're not like a Passaic or an Elizabeth or even Perth Amboy who's new in the all career fire department game. A lot of our locals are just a driver and a couple firemen on shift or deciding whether they're going to take an engine out, the quint, or the truck out. So a lot of our locals function in a low staffing scenario. So that's why I thought it would be great for you to bring that knowledge to maybe some of the locals that don't have it. And let's be honest, I'm sure some of the stuff you're going to be teaching is going to work for departments that are fully staffed or that with guys that go down to just 3 on the apparatus or whatnot.
Right.
I'm sure it's going to be great for all of that.
Yeah, it's going to be simple, real tips and tricks to the point, and just a couple good experiences. And then the second class, I like to keep it simple, but for me, it's more of a passion just with my background, growing up where I grew up. Family had a woodworking business, so I was involved in a lot of building construction growing up. So one thing that there was a big pitfall in my mind was McMansions. So even in Passaic on the in the park side, we have mansions, but there's a lot of cities that have old money, right? So there's a lot of places that have these massive private dwellings. And yes, in today's society, they're getting chopped up. But, again, that's something that is You go to fire one, they tell you, oh, it's very similar to a commercial fire. Yeah, okay, sure. But when you start digging into the building construction, what my class digs into is, what I have the opportunity to be a part of. And it's more about looking at the casings and the hardwood floors and the mahogany ceilings and all that ornate work. And realistically, right? Like if you took the last civil service test, what's salvage and overhaul? In a regular burnout, you might be looking at just swinging a Halligan through a cheap kitchen IKEA or whatever mom and pop shop cabinet. But you go to a McMansion to do that, it's going to take a little bit of work to open up to do all that kind of stuff. So that class dives into, again, tips and tricks and tactics and things like that. But it also is a very heavy discussion on the building construction of these buildings, and especially, for the people up north Jersey and even, by you guys in the mid Colts Neck area. I mean, you might think you have a big, type four, nice post and beam, huge, massive setup, but you're really working on a steel frame structure that's, framed out of that. So now what? So again,
What's funny is even talking to some of my guys in Amboy, they're like, McMansions, we don't have any of those in Amboy. I go, are you crazy? If you take a look at our entire waterfront, it's giant Victorian homes
right.
that are built like McMansions. So those tactics you can use for, a McMansion with newer construction, you could still use those same tactics for older school, but you do got to understand the difference between, the way the buildings were built back then and the way they're built now. So I think
Absolutely.
that, yeah, you're going to dive into that, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the open space is what really changes everything because that the flow path and all that stuff
Yep.
can really
It's a game
change. Here I
changer.
go. Here I
Yeah.
start getting started now with the fire dynamic stuff. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate that, brother. Anything else to
Absolutely.
add? I mean,
No, listen, I appreciate everybody that signed up so far, and I'm sure this is going to air before that week. So if you want, check it out. If not, shoot me a DM, and we'll keep the conversation going.
yeah, appreciate. No, you're looking at the last numbers. Every single one of your classes are pretty much starting to fill up. Tuesday's dragging a lot of has a lot more traction than Wednesday, but that's usually how it works because we're going to be down there. A lot of guys are going to be having dinners and they don't want to wake up early on Wednesday, but we're still they're filling up. So again, you're up to the 30s and I think 20s for each day and stuff like that. And the same with Ryan and Patrick. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be good.
Sweet.
Um, Ryan, why don't you tell us about what classes you're going to be teaching down at the convention and what our membership could be looking forward to?
Great. So the one class that we're going to be starting off with is 5 minutes to win. It's about the first 5 minutes of an incident, the arrival scene, setting the foundation for your attack plan, and trying to really look at, gathering the information, completing size ups, when your adrenaline's high and we're making these quick second decisions in a fast time. We're going to be looking at mental processing under stress and then translating what you see into what you do. So translating that visualization into the conceptual plan of how we're going to get about this. We're also going to look at the stress effects on your body, and how different coping mechanisms can assist with dealing with the stress under pressure. And we're looking to hit just our firefighters, our fire officers, and incident commanders. So all broad range of uh, people who are able to take this class.
Now, Ryan, when you talk about stress, I mean mental stress and mental um, part of the topic for the fire service is really big right now. Making sure we take care of our members, the CISM, the peer support. Is this more of that kind of talk, or is it more about actual physical stress? Because I think sometimes we forget that our job is actually physically demanding as well.
Yeah,
So,
so it's
like,
going to go a lot into the decision-making process and the physical and mental effects of stress on your body. Some things that we overlook at times with the audio exclusion, tunnel vision, and just how to remain vigilant and be on top of your body and understand why things happen the way they do, and maybe connect some dots of some past experiences that people may have had.
okay, that's really cool. Yeah, so it's more of physical and mental kind of stressors.
No, yes, definitely. And then the second class is going to be Ashes to Answers. It's kind of a passion of mine, so it starts with the fire investigative side.
Now, I'm going to be honest with you, Ryan. I hate to interrupt you. A lot of people were thankful that they're going to get some investigator CEUs while they're down in Atlantic City, because we do
Yes,
have a lot of our members are investigators, and I know it's kind of tough for them to get their CEUs for that. So again, taking your Ashes to Answers class, you do have permission from the DFS to get investigator CEUs as well.
yes, yeah, it is an
Yeah,
approved
awesome.
class there. So what we look at with Ashes to Answers is the fire department's role in the investigative process and how the fire department's role can make or break, an investigative case in some cases and the consequences that go along with it. So we talk about fire behavior a little bit. We talk about fire spread, and then we talk about the recognition and recognition of evidence or suspicious circumstances, as well as the preservation of different uh, evidentiary value items that we would use in the investigative process. And we just talk about kind of your observations coming onto the fire scene, what you're seeing. Again, we interact with some human behavior, and then we look at a couple case studies to try to relate it better to the fire personnel. And again, this is for both fire officers, incident commanders, and firefighters.
Okay, so everyone in every discipline could benefit from this class, right?
Yep, it incorporates like a team mentality between the investigative side of things and the suppression side.
I don't know about you guys, but we're all company officers or used to be company officers here, and anyone could chime in here. But sometimes it's difficult when you're with your crews for them to understand the importance of preserving evidence, especially when we're in the tactical phase of the operation, right? We all want to get in there, overhaul, break walls, break ceilings, do as much damage to make sure the fire is out. This class is going to touch a little bit on that, on making sure that we take a look at it from an investigator's point of view, just in the sense of like not going crazy when we're in these buildings. Is that kind of what we're going to be talking about?
Yeah, as our friend Gordon Graham would say, is slow down. Looking at it, have to slow down a little bit. Look what's happening in the room, recognize, let the room cooling off, and kind of read what you're seeing, not doing unnecessary damage.
Okay, awesome. And those are your two classes. I appreciate it. And again, your classes are filling up pretty well. And, I'm looking forward to that investigator CEUs for sure. Because most of the guys have to go to IAAI or, find a specialty class for that. It's good that we're going to able to, meet those requirements at the convention. So,
no, without a doubt.
Yeah. And Patrick Wirkus, last but not least, you're utilizing division commanders class has been a hit, at least with the DFS. I know me and you, we were rookies for the DFS classes this year. We both had the privilege of being in the fall semester. And from what I hear, a lot of the students that took my class took your class, and a lot of positive stuff. So what can the people that haven't taken it expect with your training? And your class is the only class out of the ones that we've been talking about that is a full day class. That's going to be on Wednesday, correct?
Wednesday. Yep. Full day class on Wednesday. We're going to be talking a lot about the decentralization of the fireground, which is something I believe in, and I've seen it work firsthand. The thing that I have kind of revamped is when I first started the program, it was mainly around chief officers as division supervisors. And the feedback I got from a lot of different departments, which was great, was to your point in the beginning when we first started talking, a lot of departments aren't Elizabeth, Newark, Jersey City, Passaic, right? Or Perth Amboy. So the rank structures are different, where it might be a captain as a shift commander. It depends on what department you're working in. So I kind of took that and revamped the program a little bit. And what we're going to be talking about really is, again, decentralization, but talking about the NIOSH 5. And that keeps coming up in these injury reports and NIOSH line of duty death reports. And, with your improper risk assessments, lack of incident command, lack of accountability, communications is a big one. And then failure or lack of following standard operating procedures or guidelines. And by decentralizing the fireground and using division or group supervisors, although my program really is focused around division supervisors, using NFPA 1550, we talk a lot about staffing with 1710, and really honing in on, even with limited staffing departments, how you can decentralize the fireground or utilize your mutual aid partners or your automatic aid agreements. And talking a lot about, and I know all of us have had this conversation, trying to drop the egos between departments, right? And you know what? It is what it is. Even Elizabeth, right? We rely on mutual aid for anything over a second alarm fire. So utilizing mutual aid chiefs, utilizing your automatic aid agreements in your departments, or different officers, maybe staff chiefs or staff officers, to help you decentralize the incident. I mean, again, not to take too much away from what you'll get from me on Wednesday of that for the program, but radio traffic, right? Just by putting somebody in charge of, whether it's going to be a Division II supervisor, or if you break it down into Alpha and Charlie, really honing in and reducing that radio traffic. So when those important messages need to get out, like a Mayday, that there's not 15 people on the radio because everybody feels that their message is more important than somebody else's. And not only that, when you do that, you allow the company officer to oversee their people, right? They shouldn't have to be worrying about their personnel doing searches, where the line is being stretched, and having to look at the overall picture of what's going on inside. Now, should heads always be on a swivel? Absolutely. But having that person in a step back position, looking at the global picture from a division supervisor level, really allows that incident to run that much smoother. And that's how I truly believe decentralizing the fireground improves that task level supervision and task level tactics. Allow the company officers to oversee their members to make sure they're carrying out those task level tactics appropriately, especially now. I just speaking from experience, there's young fire departments, right? And
Right.
it's now.
Well, here's what I like about what you said. I'm sorry to cut you off, Pat.
Yeah.
What I love that you said is that you're gearing this towards not just bigger departments. You're gearing it towards and talking about departments that are relying on our mutual aid brothers and sisters to come in there. And this is why a training like this is important for everybody within our jurisdictions to kind of understand the role of that, right? When you come in to help another department, it ain't about coming in and taking over or being upset that another chief has command or whatever, even if it's within your own department. It's about using the resources you have correctly in the right location to ultimately do what, right? We have two goals: put the fire out and make sure nobody gets hurt, right? And yeah, we could talk about, life safety, incident stabilization, but we all know those things, right? But mostly it's about utilizing your officers, whether they're chief officers or whether they're company officers, to take control of a certain location, because you as the incident commander are not infallible, right? A lot of people think because I'm the IC, I have to do and say and make every tactical decision on the fire ground. Well, that's not true. You're doing that by, empowering your people in those positions that you're giving them. You know what I mean? If you make your Charlie division commander or an interior commander or, division two, whatever commander is, you're empowering those people to make those decisions and figure things out, but relay that information to the incident commander. Is that right?
Yes, the incident commander needs to stay strategic, right? So
Right.
offensive, defensive, do I need to go to a combination strategy here? I need to be thinking, if I'm the IC in the what's next, do I need a third alarm? Do I need a fourth alarm? What reports am I getting back? But if I'm getting too task saturated and I'm starting to tell engine one to stretch an inch and three quarter through the front door and make the back room, I'm not strategic anymore. I'm tactical, and that's the tactical gap where division supervisors can take care of that for you. Whether you're a battalion chief, a deputy chief, maybe you're a lieutenant in training, and you're the guy for that day. To allow the company officer to be the company officer, or listen, maybe your company needs to be assigned to another officer so you can take that division role. We talk about multiple different options that, again, you can take back to your department and see what works for you, because
Right.
what works in Elizabeth might not work in
Right.
Amboy, might not work in Westfield, might not work in Passaic, right? So it kind of just gives a broad perspective of decentralizing the fireground. And again, it's not, you must go back and do it this way. It's, hey, here's a couple ideas for you. Take it back. Maybe it won't work for you.
Right.
If you're pulling up
One
with
thing
three
that
people and all you have is three people throughout the entire incident, well, then you're not decentralizing the fireground,
Right.
right? But like, let's be real. In New Jersey, for the most part, especially in our areas, we're pretty dense. So whether it's automatic aid or mutual aid, we're going to get additional help in. Some might take a little longer than others, but so far from the feedback I've gotten, I think people from the classes take away some good ideas, and again, some work and some won't. Use what works for you, and I think that's the good thing about the class.
You touched on something that, I know when I teach with Ryan, we talk about it a lot. Just because we're preaching something or we're saying something, I'm sure Rob, chime in too if you agree with this. Just because Rob has his topic or Ryan has a topic or Patrick has a topic or myself, and we're talking and teaching people, it doesn't ultimately mean that it's the be all end all of what we're teaching, right? And you said it best. it may not work in your department, or if it is going to work in your specific department, tweak it. Take what works, take what doesn't work so that it works for you. Some instructors always go out there and say, this is the only way to do it. This is the playbook, and this is the playbook you always have to use. And I know when I teach, I don't like to do that, because nothing in the fire service is black and white. I mean, we live in the gray in the fire service. I mean, I think you could all agree. We're hitting on 4 different areas in New Jersey here, with Passaic to Elizabeth to Westfield, to Perth Amboy. Even though we're all centrally located, even though people don't think the central New Jersey exists, it exists. It's true. We kind of have a little bit in each one of our jurisdictions where we know what works and what doesn't work. And it goes back to ego. Everyone thinks that what they're teaching or what they're preaching is the only thing that works for everybody, and it's not the case sometimes. You got to be able to take what you're teaching, what Ryan's teaching, what Rob's teaching, bring a little bit back from each one of the classes and make it work for you, especially when you have rank. As a company officer, it is your job now not only to take care of yourself, but to take care of your crew. And in some cases, like in my department, we all run out of one house. So even though there's 3 or 4 company officers and a chief officer there, my job is to make sure everyone is safe. I ultimately, my company, when I was a company officer, that was the most important to me. But I have to look over to see if the truck guys are all right, if the rescue guys are all right, right? That's our job. And especially as a chief officer, right, Patrick? You're looking at everybody, and you have to make sure everyone's going home. It's a lot more stress. You know what I mean? So
it is. And you know what? Until you're in that position, it's very difficult to understand, and again, coming up from the volunteers, and I say this in my class, I am going to show you mistakes that I have made and continue, listen, I posted something the other day, right? You're not going to be perfect every time. It's not going to happen, but you want to try to achieve excellence. And I truly believe that at everything you go to, but by doing that, you have to put yourself out there. So in my class, you're going to see examples of some things that went right with decentralization, and then some things that I'm like, what was I thinking on that? Right.
Honestly, in my opinion, sometimes the failures are better learning moments than success, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like Michael Jordan said, right? He's failed more than he's ever succeeded, but it makes him a success eventually. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's just my opinion on it. I rather fail and own my failure, and learn from it, than act like the failure never happened and say that I'm infallible and I'm perfect, because we all know that none of us are perfect. You know what I mean? So it's good to learn from those mistakes. And that's how I like to teach. I give a lot of examples of when things go wrong, and a lot of examples of what didn't work for me. I say this a lot. I am my own worst critic, and sometimes it's better to just talk about the mistakes I've made, and maybe hopefully when you're in that situation as a student in the real world, you think back and go, oh man, I don't want to make the same mistake, Danny made or Chief Arroyo made. You know what I mean? So that's my philosophy on that.
Yeah. And just to throw one thing in here, and I think all of us will agree on this, for folks that are going to sit in on all our classes, like, have the conversation, check us, because that, you never know who else is sitting in that room as well. Like, hey, is that the right thing to do? Start the conversation, because I know with my style, it's like sitting here with you guys, like I'll be going, and then one kid will be like, hey, why? And you're like, oh, okay, let's get into it. And that, when you guys are involved, that's just going to make a better conversation. People learn, and you never know who's sitting next to you.
Well, I think that's a perfect point, right? I mean, that's how I continue to develop my program, is in these classes. Hey, Chief, what do you think about this? Or, my organization doesn't operate like that. And I've been able to make those adjustments based on those conversations, no, you have to do it this way. So I think that's a perfect example.
It's funny because all of us here are instructors, and someone asked me once, is like, well, you built the program already. Like you like, what else is there to do? I go, I'm changing my programs and what I'm teaching. And I'm sure you guys can, and I know Ryan does, and I know Patrick does. You just said it. Every time I teach a class, I learn something different. And then I'm modifying for the next class. So, I mean, I remember last year we were talking about something on a Tuesday in one of our orienting classes, and me and Dave were like, we should add that in for Wednesday. So, I mean, even there at the convention, we were changing ideas and changing our plan, because, you're learning as you go. And that's the cool thing about being an instructor, is that you're not just preaching, you're up there learning too. And like Rob said, if you're not asking questions, there are those firemen that go to trainings just to get their CEUs and get out of there and say, okay, when's the steak dinner tonight in Atlantic City? But let's be honest, there is a lot of hungry firefighters in the FMBA that want good training. And I could see that through our initiatives that we've been doing. And I guess this is a good segue to talk about that. Um, it's a good thing to see the success of the training that we've been doing throughout the year. Like last year, we did, a few trainings just through the FMBA for FMBA members. But we opened it up to anyone that wanted to be in the seat, and we got a lot of positive feedback. Being able to provide academy level classes and some classes that they won't be able to get in their own departments. Because let's be honest, a lot of FMBA departments are not lucky to have a chief like mine, like Chief Mullen, right? Which he spends a lot of money and a lot of time on training and getting people trained. I've had some departments that are like, if the FMBA didn't run this free class, I would have never got it. You know what I mean? And that's what this is here for. So it's great that we provide this convention. It's great that we provide yearly training. But on top of that, it's great that we can bring in good instructors that are providing information that's relevant, that you guys are, actually still out there on these apparatus. Like guys work with you, Rob, in Passaic. Guys work with you in Westfield. Guys work with you in Elizabeth. You know what I mean? So it's your guys coming in. It's your guys that are going to grab two other guys from neighboring departments and say, hey, come check out my lieutenant. Come check out my captain. Come check out my chief. I'm talking. So that's the goal. That was the whole goal of the convention. I just want to build on that. And, along with you guys, we have a lot of great names coming in, like Paul Dansbach's coming in, Disbrow, Seaberger, you have Kilmer and a lot of other guys that are going to come in and teach, really good stuff that are either newly retired or still working and providing training that you normally won't be able to get in your own department. So,
yeah, I think that's a home run. And you know what? Just to build on that a little bit, Danny, is, as us as up and comers and us being new, especially, for my first time teaching at the convention, right? I think it's important for the members watching this podcast is this can definitely be you one day, right?
oh,
So
absolutely. Yeah.
by staying educated, by obviously going to fires, getting that experience, or whatever it is, the topic you're going to teach, by getting that experience, by staying current, don't be afraid, because I'll tell you what, putting yourself out there has been great for me. Listen, I'm not going to say it hasn't had its challenges, right? But it's very rewarding to give back to the job that I love, that I
Yeah.
wanted to do since I was a kid. And the people who have influenced me or encouraged me along the way, right? Chief Avillo, Chief Castro's, Chief Brush. You go down the list, Chief Pratt's, Chief Montaigne, Chief Turpak. The list goes on, and by those people saying, "Hey, you have something good here. Get it out
Right.
there for the guys to hear it." Right. So if you're listening to this and saying, maybe I don't know if I can ever do that, or what do I really have? I guarantee you have something.
No, Patrick, you hit the nail on the head. Like New Jersey is so rich in like fire service instructors. I mean, Rob, you come from Bergen County, which is basically the stepping stone for FDIC. At least that's what I hear. We're not too bad in Middlesex County, I think, but a lot of good names come from New Jersey. And again, like I was honored to teach the FMBA convention last year. I'm honored to be helping run it this year. The goal was, and I know I've talked to you guys independently about this, is just we have a lot of smart, educated, good firefighters in New Jersey, good FMBA members that are solid firefighters, that this should be a convention from us to us. Like it shouldn't just be us four and the other four instructors or 10 instructors that are going to be there. It should be anyone that has a good topic, that has a good information, that works in their department, that an idea that works in their department, bring it back to everyone else. You know what I mean? Ultimately, I would love that to be, an FMBA convention from our members to our members. That's really the goal here, which is why when I started looking for some talent, why not look for you guys? Younger guys in the fire service, bring some of that knowledge and bring what works in your respective departments to the convention to bring it back to everyone else. And like you said, Patrick, you could be sitting in the chair learning one day and then hopefully be teaching the next. And hell, I know all four of us are still taking classes as much as we teach. And, again, I'm jealous that I won't be teaching at this convention because apparently I have a lot of work to do. I'd much rather be in the classroom teaching, or I much rather be in the classroom learning. You know what I mean? But
I'm
I'm going to
taking a
have my
class
hand.
on Tuesday. I'm
Yeah,
taking a class
exactly.
Tuesday, right? So
Yeah. Exactly. And Patrick, the class you're going to be taking, let's talk about that one. We're going to be doing a live fire demo with Mike Daly and John Dixon. Again, John Dixon's another FMBA guy from TNEC. Mike Daly's, writes for Firehouse Magazine and stuff like that. He works over with Rob at Firehouse Magazine. Knowledgeable guy with respects to fire behavior. We ran his class in May through the Education and Training Committee and Union. There was over 30 people there. It was a huge success. And, a lot of people were asking, well, when are you guys going to run that class again? Well, let's do it at convention. So we have the Atlantic County Fire Academy. All the classes going to be there. And again, that class is filling up too. You guys are going to have to bring your gear there. So Patrick, make sure you bring your turnout gear with you because
got my car already.
you're going to, do some practical training too. And again, hopefully, last year and the last couple of years, there's been, one hot class and, this year we're providing one hot class, but I would really love to see this grow. I know, Rob, you do a lot of hands-on training too. I would love to see this grow into something, maybe 2 days of hot training, different topics, different opportunities for guys to take maybe something hands-on a Tuesday and then maybe take something different on a Wednesday, but give them some options. And I'm sure as this grows, the training is going to grow with it. So, I'm looking forward to that opportunity. But again, it's not just the one shop with just classroom stuff. We're trying to build it out with some practical stuff too. So,
And the one benefit I've seen with you with this training and offering the different trainings has been, the first training you get that one guy from a department, the second class you offer, he's bringing his friends now. So you're
right,
seeing,
exactly, yeah.
the lineage be developed and created, and you're seeing some of the officers taking their younger firemen and whatnot and making them or taking them to these classes, which is, creating different bonds. It's pretty cool to see too from
Well,
the
I
outside.
remember being a probie in Amboy, like when we took classes, you know, there was a stipulation that whatever you took, you were coming back to educate the guys to a point. You know what I mean? So if I took a class on building construction as a company officer, I should be coming back and maybe taking that information I learned in that class and bringing it back to the department. Do you know what I mean? So exactly like you're right. If I could bring a couple guys with me now to take that class, that's the goal, and then the fact that, we're in Atlantic City and we get to hang out afterwards, that's a plus in my eyes as well. So
Yeah, and it's twofold, like you mentioned, right? Like we had the same thing by us. Like we went to a class in Philly. I think it was like ISFSI or FR or whatever. And then same thing, like years later, they're like, hey, remember that class we took on fire behavior at Philly or whatever. But like you mentioned, right? The after effect, this whole week that we're there, not just the classes, but don't be afraid to, I mean, it sounds cheesy to hit anybody up after. Hey,
right,
you want to get dinner? Here's my number, exchange. And I always said
right,
that even going back to when I was teaching in at Susar this year, like there's people just coming up to me. They're like, hey, connected with this, or here's my number in case I have a question, or if you have a question, it's also a huge networking opportunity for everybody
right.
there. For like you said, from the top chief to the newest probie we got, get out there and connect because you never know. You just never know. Like, you might have to like Chief Pat said, hey, I got something. I went through something back in the day or in my first 2 weeks on the job, and that could be a home run learning experience for somebody else down the line or somebody going through something else somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good point too. Like there's so much networking that could be had at these conventions as well. And in September, it's more of a union convention where the e-board goes and, we attend meetings and we attend conferences and we're talking about the job and with respects to labor. But in the fire department, training is a big deal. So to have a convention that's just for training, but you could also add the networking part of it is amazing. And, we can't forget that at convention, there will be labor classes. There is CISM classes. We have the National Fallen Firefighters coming to do the taking care of our own class, which I took a couple years ago. And as an advocate, how important it is to have that class so everyone understands what a department could be faced with if they have to deal with an LODD. It's tremendous, the burden and the toll that will go on that department. But we also have, labor. We have, mental health. We have, Jones and Bartlett will be there to help, discuss the new Navigate system. So there's a few different things you could come and we can't forget about EMS. EMS will be there providing CEUs, and again, all our classes have CEUs as well. So if you're a local in EMS, you're coming in, getting down your stuff. But I'm an EMT. We're all EMTs. We could go down there and say, hey, listen, I'm going to take a day of fire classes and a day of EMS classes. And as the committee chair for the convention, one of the hard things, and actually, hopefully, someone hearing this will help me out for next year, is to bring some classes for our dispatchers, because we forget that we represent the most firefighters, EMTs, and dispatchers in the state, and we don't want the dispatchers to be forgotten. And you're hearing that from me. If you're listening to this podcast, there are a couple people that have been helping me try to find a dispatch class. We did find a couple things that would be great, but it was just a little bit too last minute to get them booked for February. But, you are not forgotten, our dispatcher brother and sisters. We want to bring you guys down to Atlantic City for you guys to benefit from some training as well. Because, you guys are a big part of what the FMBA is. So, Rob, help me out. I know you must know somebody there in the dispatch world.
I'll send you a text right now.
Appreciate it. So again, I just want to hit on some of the major things that you guys are doing too as well, just to prove that, a lot of our locals within our own state have been doing some big things. Rob, you were over in Poland last year.
Yeah, that was a good experience. I'll touch on that real quick, but again, we just went back. Me being
because you are truly international, my friend.
Now
teaching
listen,
all over now.
Like that's the joke. I'm not Pitbull. I'm not some kind of big instructor, but I was able to teach in another language over there. But again, I talk about it on a bunch of different podcasts and a bunch of the blogs and pages. But that was a phenomenal opportunity because again, now coming back, we're trying to get guys to come from Poland now back to Passaic and back to my volley house. So we're kind of created like a brotherhood connection between us and the international level. Just again, you never know. Even though people can say over there it's very unique and different, like they're ahead of us on some things where we're ahead on other things. Right. And just to come back to have that conversation, it's been a good opportunity, and hopefully, it continues. And you never know, maybe we get them involved in next year's convention in 27. Have them come to this thing, check it out.
That would be awesome, man. I mean, I'm open to anything. And again, I know that they're very proactive, especially when it comes to like cancer reduction, right?
Yeah,
they do a lot of things right there.
Yeah, I mean, not crazy. It's a good positive thing, but I guess Northeast firefighting, New Jersey, New York firefighting, we have our own unfortunate, or however you want to look at it, way of doing things. And over there,
our tradition is our greatest power, but our biggest enemy, right?
Biggest kryptonite, yeah. Because
we want to keep doing things.
Over there, like I said, I say this every time. They wear their medical gloves on their turnout gear, and I thought that was the cheesiest thing, because for years you say, "Oh, you're going to get toasted and it's going to melt to you." Stop. Come on. If you think that's the thing, go back to 4th, 5th grade, physics class to see how it operates. But again, they do crazy things like going out of service and they change their gear right away. I mean, God bless them that they could do stuff like that. Again, manpower and situations we can and places like that. But again, when you look at a truck company, they look at us and say, "Wait, you go inside with a water can before the engine gets there?" They're completely, discombobulated. Right. But no, it's good. It's we'll see where it continues again. And I know we have other members that do stuff in South America and the islands. So again, I think that's a cool initiative that the entire FMBA could start doing, is just international connections or something of that nature.
No, that's awesome, dude. Patrick, I know you're in the EFO program. Do you want to talk about that real quick and just let everybody know that might not know what the EFO program is, what it's about, and how hard it is to get into it? That's one of my short-term goals, and I'm dreading it because as much as I want to get it done and I look forward to it, I know it's going to be a lot of work. So
it is. It's a lot of work to put it bluntly. But it is a great experience. It's been a great experience so far. I am currently in my capstone research right now. So anybody who doesn't know what the Executive Fire Officer program is, that is run through the National Fire Academy in Emmitsburg, Maryland. They were taking 500 applications and accepting 150 every year. However, we just got notified. I believe they're taking 600 applications, and I think they're upping it to 200 to be accepted for 26, which is great. What it does is it focuses on yourself as a leader, also your organization, your community, and then the wrap up is a capstone, and it has to be on something that benefits or can improve not only yourself, but your department. And it's not just a general paper on any topic. It has to be approved. You have to have multiple check-in periods. But what the Executive Fire Officer program has really done for me is build relationships with chief officers from around the country, really. And we have an international student in from UAE. So really just building relationships, getting some ideas, realizing that there is a life outside of Elizabeth, New Jersey, and
Yeah.
there's some really, really smart people out there, way smarter than me, that I get a lot from, and I've taken a lot away from the program so far. And I am sure when I go back for my final residency, that's scheduled for April, that I will take something from that as well. Also, if you haven't been to the National Fire Academy, these guys will tell you it's a beautiful
Yeah.
place. It's an experience.
I was there literally 2 weeks ago. They're
Yeah.
rewriting the incident safety officer program. Me and Ryan teach that a lot, and we teach it for Monmouth. We teach it through the business a lot. Actually, we're doing it. We did it through the FMBA in the fall, and we're doing it again in March. So you're absolutely right. It is a sight to see. The memorial is beautiful. Um,
You're not going to go there and
no,
do
yeah,
live burns, right? You're not.
no,
It's
but
not it's not to go there and do things like we're doing here.
right.
You know.
But being in a classroom where there's someone from California, from Connecticut,
Yes.
from Kentucky, having every nuance there, you could ask questions of how they do things, and from in the West Coast to the Midwest, it is an awesome experience, and it's an beautiful place to be. It's almost like it's got like a feel to it almost, like it's
Yeah, it's an
very
old.
special place.
It is. It's an old college campus, so you're not going to go. Don't expect to go stay at the Hilton, but it is.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful place to walk around, to network, relationships. But what I like to say about the NFA is it's kind of like the Harvard for the fire service, if you will. So again, it's not your burn building, it's not the down and dirty, it's the more executive level. Now there are tactics classes there, and that's where you get to learn from each other, from that West, East Coast, mid coast. Um, but I think between experience, between when I talk about staying ahead and staying knowledgeable and staying about what's current, I think that's where the NFA plays a big part in that. And if you guys agree with me or not, but not just the trade magazines, which are phenomenal, Firehouse, Fire Engineering, right? But actually going there for nationally recognized curriculum and talking kind of the same sheet of music across the country, and having some good after hours discussions as well. It's a great place to be. And the EFO program to me is the tip of the spear for the NFA. So if anybody's thinking about it, the applications come out every year. Even if you're a company officer at the executive level, to really hone in on your administrative skills, which this has allowed me to do, I 110% highly recommend it. And even if it's not the EFO program, whether it's managing officer or whether you just head down for a weekend to take strategy and tactics, or one of the command and control classes, or hazmat for the week, I 100% recommend that. I think you should go.
Awesome. And again, we usually offer an NFA type class at convention, but because of the shutdown and all of that stuff, it was kind of last minute to get them scheduled. But we are running your class, the NFA strategy and tactics class, along with the NFA incident safety officer class. We're running them through the education and training committee, and they're both in March. That class that you're teaching, strategy and tactics, is already booked. And then the class me and Ryan are doing, incident safety officer, is halfway booked. So again, it's awesome to see our members taking advantage of this free training, because that's what this is about. It's here for them. Ryan, real quick, I know you're having an article that's about to be printed in fire engineering, and you hold the title that I also want, IAAI fire investigator, certified fire investigator, and stuff like that. So, talk about that, and talk about how, things that are coming up with you, and how difficult it is to get that accreditation, and, what someone could do to get on board with that.
Yeah, definitely. So, just kind of like you said, so I did get certified as a CFI through the IAAI. It's an extensive process. You got to take a few courses and meet certain requirements and benchmarks. I think the hardest part about the whole thing is actually the application once you come down to it. But once you get through the application, then it's going to be a proctored exam. Now it's done through a testing center. but it takes some time, probably takes between 5 and 10 years could be to get enough experience and points in the credentialing system to get there. But you could just start out by taking either the DCJ or the IAAI 80-hour fire investigation course. That's offered multiple times throughout the year to begin the process, and you can become certified as a New Jersey certified fire investigator just to start, and then get your feet wet and move through there. Um, but
Right, and I
it's
know you
just
do a
another.
lot with I know you do a lot with inspections too. You're running an inspector class down in Monmouth now. We do have FMBA members that do that discipline. Is there, I know we've talked, but maybe there's a possibility of us doing something like that through the education committee, maybe doing like an inspector class for our members that might need it. What will, what does that entail?
Yeah, we just wrapped up our fire inspector program. Shout out to Paul Dansbeck for all his mentorship on this. But he pretty much gave us a good blueprint of how to run a program, and we just completed the program a few weeks ago. So yeah, it's something we've talked about. We've looked at. We've looked at possibly like a 2-week program, an accelerated Monday through Friday type program for the inspector, and even possibly the official class too. But it's something that we're open to do, and as long as we get the students enrolled, it's something we definitely can put on for everybody. It's a highly sought after class.
Yeah, it is. Most of our locals either do some type of fire protection or fire inspection or something like that. It's not something we used to do in Amboy a lot, but now it's a big thing we do now. We took over it a couple years ago, and we joke around with our inspectors sometimes, but they're just as valuable as us interior guys, right? They're inspecting these buildings and making sure they're good to go before the fire starts, which is just as important as putting them out and doing all the dirty work. But again, we know that our inspectors are the FMBA, and if we could get them some training as well, that would work. And that's why it's great to have Paul as one of our instructors. I think he's going to be talking about automatic sprinkler systems and stuff like that. So.
hmm No, definitely, and Paul's great. And even if you're interested in the investigator side, just reach out to me on the side. It helped me tremendously as a fireman and a fire officer, just understanding how fire behavior reacts and fire spread.
Well,
Um,
we've talked about me finally sitting down to take my exam too, but
yes,
just
yes.
to add it in, and then I talked to Patrick about setting up my fire officer through the Center of Excellence. It's just there's not enough time in the day, so there's always a lot of stuff that we could be doing. Let's see where we at here. So yeah, so I'm really excited for Atlantic City. I think it's going to be a great training class. I think it's going to be a great opportunity, and I know we've talked personally about maybe doing something together, us four, where respects to officer development. So I think that with us four, it's a great complement of leadership and fire tactics and experience that could touch on a lot of levels. Now, and guys, chime in whenever you want here, but I think you guys can agree that one of the major issues with the fire service is the lack of officer development. Would you agree?
Without a doubt. You're
I know
thrown
that.
into you're thrown into a ring, and it's fend for yourself, sink or
Yeah.
swim type. There's really no set process other than passing a test, and uh, you know, I don't think we do a good enough job just in general with the development.
And I know just proactive departments like Patrick and Passaic and myself, our chiefs do our best at trying to give us knowledge and spread that knowledge. And me as the training officer, when we hire or promote new people, I try my best to give them a day, 2 days, maybe a week of officer development training. And I'm not just talking about fire officer one or fire officer two, through the DFS. I'm talking about true officer development training with respects to not so much what the textbook says, but what is working out there from vetted officers and from people that are actually doing it. Go ahead, Patrick. What were you going to say?
Yeah, so I mentioned my capstone for EFO, and it is on officer development and the gap that lies between civil service testing and officer development. It's specifically related to Elizabeth, but I know it could be related to so many other
Yeah.
departments, especially in New Jersey. But what is refreshing is there are a lot of departments out there who are implementing some type
Oh
of
yeah.
officer development. And I've been able to speak to a lot of those chiefs in the EFO program to get some great ideas for my paper and to bring back. But you talk about proactive chiefs, when I mentioned to Chief Baracco about the EFO program and what it could do for Elizabeth, he was all in, the training chief Ignali, all in on go bring it back so we can try to
Right.
improve, upon our department and our members. So
Right.
yes, I think it's a home run. I think officer development is lacking in the fire service as a whole, but there are some pretty squared away people and pretty squared away departments that have some good things in place. And again, you can piecemeal that and use
Right. Right.
what works for you.
Right. And I personally have taught, I mean, we did Fire Officer 1 for all our officers in Perth Amboy. We had Chief Avillo come and do it, which is awesome. He was outstanding. Me and Ryan teach it in Monmouth County, where we have a few, career departments down there like Long Branch and stuff like that comes in and takes the class. I know you just did it in Elizabeth, Patrick. I've trained a lot of proactive departments. I've gone up to Bayonne, I've gone up to Bloomfield. So there are a lot of departments, and I am not knocking the Fire Officer 1 program because we teach it and, we're getting people certified in it.
It's
But we
needed.
want to,
Yeah.
absolutely, 100%. And it's going to hit on those things that you need to hit on, right? The budgeting, the administration, the handling discipline. I had a couple of my students say, I wish I took this class before our promotional exam, because you're right. You're hitting a lot of the marks, right? You're talking about how to discipline people. Your fire tactics only gets one chapter. I wish that was a little bit more, but listen, you're following the curriculum and it's not bad in any way, shape, or form. But I wish there was more of a from us to you kind of thing, like from officers that I trust, giving it to the members. And Rob, do you guys do something like that in Passaic?
I was going to say just more in general, you see of a lot of departments, not so much New Jersey, unfortunately, but unless it's outside of my bubble. But there's a lot of places that do like, from the firefighter standpoint, rookie books and probie books and
Right,
build
right,
out and
right.
chauffeur books. So why aren't we doing
Hmm.
a fire like an officer one, right?
Right,
Because
exactly. Yeah.
again, it doesn't have to be like you said, a budgeting thing, or I mean, but you could just, and even maybe this is where this weekend in the future of the fall of 26 builds out, is it may not be that you're coming in on an hour 2 hour discussion on how to run a fire. It might be like how to deal with people, how to deal with problems,
Right.
because that's what the biggest lacking thing this year is in my mind is people skills,
Yeah.
right? You could
What,
you
what,
could have 5,000 fires, but you don't know how to talk to somebody, you're
yeah.
going to be known
And we
as
talk
not the
about
best
it
guy.
in the Fire Officer 1 program. We talk about leadership theory, and we
Right.
talk about, um, Ryan, help me out here. What are some of the main ones? The OODA loop. We talk about Marlowe's hierarchy of needs,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
some of the other stuff. But how do we take that and apply it to someone on a tactical level and on a firehouse level? You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
so basically, talking to the three gentlemen here, we want to come up with something kind of like a fire officer weekend, hosted by the FMBA, but with us four as the instructors. And I think that it would be great. I think that with the backing of the FMBA behind us, I think that we can at least get a lot of departments, future officers or current officers trained. Again, with the idea of from officers that are doing it, right? We're all actively working. We all, work in our own department that has its own specialty or kind of own things that we deal with a little bit different than everyone else, but maybe something that, we'll teach on that weekend will touch with some of these other departments. Because I personally know, I mean, even when I was promoted in 2019, it was like you're promoted on Friday, you go on your shift on Monday. And again, I appreciate the trust that my chief had in me at the time when I went from a fireman to a company officer. But I also was like, what else? What else can someone teach me? What else can, who's the senior guy? We talk about the senior guy in the fire service, but what's the term for the senior officer, right? What's the term for the senior officer, senior guy? That's a lot to say. So are we calling that guy a senior guy? Are we looking to that person to say, hey, and I know who that person is for me in my department, who I go to for everything. Hey, can I get the door for a minute? And we talk about everything that we're gonna, every situation. But I have my guy in my department. I have a couple people in my department, and I'm sure Patrick and Ryan and Rob, you guys have your guys. But I want to try to do something amongst us four that we could give to other guys that, hey, they were promoted on a Friday and they start on Monday. What can they learn, or what can they provide themselves? Because another good thing about the FMBA training is that, not that we're like taking the fire department out of the situation, but if it's a training you really want to take, the FMBA is paying for it. So come and take it, because a lot of departments, and as an administrator, I understand budgets and I understand not being able to send everybody to training. Even when a training is free, if you're giving them comp time, it's not free. Eventually they're going to take off and we're going to have to backfill. So even being able to provide a training where our members could say, listen, if my department says I can't go, I'm still going because at least I want to educate myself. Does that make sense to everybody?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think being able to provide that is going to be pretty good. Go ahead, Patrick.
Well, I think that, especially speaking for myself, when I got promoted, I mean, yes, there is the civil service testing, and you have to study, and there's a lot of great material that you read, but there's so much more out there, right? And I'll just give you one example. Was when I became a battalion chief, I really wanted to make sure, especially as a chief level officer, overseeing, whether it's 11 or 12 or 13 captains and the 44 to 60 guys that are on duty, that I was going to have their best interests in mind. And I wanted to know what I could do to strengthen myself as a chief. So I went down to Pensacola, Florida to take the 50-hour
Yeah, that's
battalion
awesome,
chief
man.
boot camp from Chief Ike, and again, another guy that says, take what works for you, but don't. I'm giving you the tools to make
Right.
yourself better. So you know what? From a local standpoint, maybe the members don't have to travel to Pensacola,
Right.
Florida. They can get something a little more local. And you know what? I can guarantee when this happens, we're going to learn something
Oh, absolutely.
from it. So
And what's great is Patrick, I like to call myself a psychopath with the fire service. I love the fire service. And I know that you four, well, us four, that we're all on the same page. Like, I don't have a lot of hobbies. My family is my hobby, and the fire service is something I love. And when I say psychopath, I mean that I will do like what you do and get on a plane and fly somewhere to go get some training I might not be able to get everywhere else. I wanted to, and like you said, I want to be able to provide some training to the members that can't do that. On
Mm-hmm.
top of that, there's members that might not be able to either afford a class like that or not be able to, pick up and leave their family for 3 days or a week to go do training. So if we can give them a weekend of coming and getting, quality training here in New Jersey from quality instructors, that's also a goal that I would love to be able to give our members as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think just to chime in real quick, I know John Lewis talks about it a lot. I mean, one of the biggest things is taking all that information, and I think the four of us and anybody else that's going to get involved and wants to get involved with us is, taking all that info and making it actionable, right? You can take all this stuff in, but if you don't know how to push it out, teach, move it on, whatever verb you want to use,
Right.
that's a big key. So I think, this is the first step in a big project that's going to help.
Yeah. And again, speaking of John Lewis, and Moran, they're coming down to the convention too, another two great instructors. But it's about giving back, right? And one thing that the FMBA wants to do, and when Eddie and Troy talked to me about the whole education and training thing, was let's give back to our members. And how can we do that besides, and obviously all our charitable contributions are great, and doing, our foundation is great, but our members, taking care of our members, working and, giving them the opportunity to better themselves is great. And again, we have so much talent in New Jersey. Why not be able to give our guys that? So ultimately, our goal is to do some type of officer development weekend with us four at the helm, and hopefully people will want to come and listen to us four. That's going to be the biggest task, I think. But I think that with Ryan with investigations and Rob with rescue and the truck stuff, and Patrick with your utilizing command and and your incident management, and myself with training and incident safety and stuff like that. I think that combining those four things and just our own education, I think that we'd be able to provide what normally our members won't be able to get otherwise. So
Oh yeah, and just to piggyback off, what Patrick and Rob said, the textbooks are great, but that approach to putting that textbook into real life use and synthesizing all that information is what our goal is. And like we said, every incident's different, but we don't know all the answers to the test, but we have a good idea of where this what is going to be on the test and how we can
right.
try to apply that method, to steal something from our friends over at Leadership Under Fire.
Yeah, exactly. And again, most of the time, and Ryan, you know this, most of the times when we teach, we say a lot of this stuff isn't an original thought that we came up with, right? We're just taking what Patrick says, what Rob has said, what Ryan has said, what Moran has said, what Andy Starnes has said, and we're putting it all together and just putting it in our own way that maybe works for our audience. And I'm not telling you not to take any of those other people's classes. Take their classes, take my classes, take Patrick's classes, take as much as you can and build from it and make your own way of being an officer. Because I know one thing, and I know Ryan, you're newly promoted. I guess out of all four of us, you've been, and I think we talked about this before you got promoted. Was learn from those bad officers too, right? Because you can learn how not to be. Hang out with an officer that you may not trust 100%, or maybe someone that you don't agree with 100%. You can probably learn just as much from a bad officer as you can from a good officer.
And that's with everything, that's how you learn. Sometimes those, if you say bad officer or bad boss, they're the best ones to have because you learn, what works and what doesn't work and how to do certain things.
No, exactly, 100%.
It adds a challenge to it.
Unless Rob and Patrick, you guys are, everyone's good in Elizabeth and Passaic, right? No, no issues there.
Hey, sometimes, you know what? Admittedly,
You could be the bad officer, right?
Sometimes I might be the bad officer.
100%.
I've had plenty of conversations
Yeah.
with deputies and the chief saying,
And what's great is you probably have a couple guys that are watching this going, I don't know what Danny's talking about. He's the one I learned not to be like. And that is absolutely fine. That is absolutely fine.
Still learning.
Still learning. Be better, right? We have a saying in our department,
1%
be better.
Yeah.
Exactly. Be better. If I'm doing something you don't like, by all means, tell me about it, number one, so that way I can get better. But if it doesn't work for you, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't use it. And, use what does work for you. So absolutely.
You know how many times I've heard the Wirkus is coming out again? I'm like, all right, got it. I know.
Yeah.
So.
I get the face. Danny's giving me the face. So it's like, I don't mean to do it. I really try not to. I guess it comes with being Puerto Rican. Sometimes you could tell all my emotions on my face. So it's the burden I have. So, but anyway, guys, let's wrap this up. I really appreciate this. If you guys just want one more minute, just say what you got to say. One last thing, either, about the convention, about what you got going on, about, how to, reach whatever it is that you're doing. That would be great. And then we'll take it from there. So why don't we start with Ryan?
Just thank you for having me. I look forward to the convention. And if you catch me at the convention and you have any feedback, please, like Rob said, open up and let's talk about it. And then if you have any suggestions, towards this officer development leadership, seek one of the four of us out and shoot some ideas with us. I think it's going to be beneficial for everybody.
Appreciate that. Rob?
Yeah, thanks again, Danny, and all you guys for hanging out today. It's going to be great in February. Keep it short and sweet again. Hopefully we pull off a hockey game this year and we take a W home.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. And Patrick?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the convention. I'm looking forward to being with you guys. For those of you taking my class, can't wait to see you there. And I'm definitely looking forward to taking the class and doing some thermal imaging on Tuesday. But again, yeah, if I'm around, please walk up to me. We'll shoot the shit. We'll chat it up. And but you can find me, Instagram, Facebook. Give me a call. All good. I love talking to fire. These guys will tell you I love talking fire service.
We weren't going to make it this whole thing without me talking about your double fireplace you got going on in your.
I love my double fireplace.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
Very
impressive.
This is my place of relaxation and peace down here.
I have a green screen. I have a green screen behind me, and you got a double fireplace, and it's not fair. You know what I mean? I'm going to end it with this, gentlemen. Thank you. You guys are currently some of the big voices in the fire service, especially in New Jersey. And, like Rob, your flow and vent reaches a lot of people throughout. Your messages that you're putting out there are outstanding. So keep that up. I'm really lucky to have you three at the convention, along with all our other instructors, whether they're fire-based, EMS, CISM, everybody. It's going to be a really, really good couple days of training, whether you're into labor, whether you're into EMS, whether you're into mental health. There's a little bit of everything for everybody. If you don't know the website, it's www.njfmba.org/educational convention. And if you're looking for the classes we're doing throughout the year, it's njfmba.org/education and training, I think. Or no, training. It's njfmba.org/training. Okay, I just scan the QR code if you see the QR code. But that'll bring you to our list of things. sign up with respects to convention. The convention is for the FMBA members, but for all of our other yearly training, if there is an open seat, you are welcome. So if you are IAFF, PFA&J, EMS, a volunteer fireman, if we have an available seat for you, you are more than welcome to take that training. So, I'm just going to end it with, a huge thank you to our executive board with the FMBA, from Eddie Donnelly to Kevin Bay Rudy to Troy Esposito, to our district vice presidents, and most importantly, Mary Jane, who we would not be able to do anything without Mary Jane. They give us the support we need to be able to give our membership what they need. And with respects to education and training, there is rarely a no. If our membership needs it, they will get it. So we're very, very lucky to have the leadership we have. And again, we're very, very lucky to have you guys at convention. I'm looking forward to bouncing around, not teaching for a change, but being there and making sure everything runs smoothly. And again, when you're at Atlantic City, like Patrick, Ryan, and Rob said, come grab us, talk to us about what you guys are looking for. If something isn't working, our egos are okay. We will be all right, and we will adjust it, and we will fix it to make it a better product for our members. So we will see everybody in February, and we will see you on the training ground. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.